this evening of your time as you create time to exist.
Great, Bashar. Welcome.
In this interaction this evening of your time with the idea of imagination and its uses in your society to this point in your development and your exploration of your consciousness. Many of you in your society have labeled the idea of imagination as the fantasy-generating element portion of your consciousness, sometimes linked together with the overtones of the wishful thinking mechanism. In this way, you have defined that your imagination is your way of fantasizing about things that you do not actually believe you can experience, thereby allowing you to, in a shadow of a way, experience them. Very often in your usage of your imagination, during the process in which you are imagining, you do figure that these things are somewhat unobtainable. It is just my imagination. Our perspective, which we have desired to convey to you regarding the idea of imagination, is that it is a tool which is keyed into your particular vibration and thereby a very individualized type of tool that allows you to self-tailor your imaging to your own particular self. Many of you feel that using your imagination to help you to create your reality is beyond your grasp. You are not very good at it, sometimes you think. However, from our perspective, you are very good at using this facility of imagination, although up till this point, it has been more in what you would label a negative way. However, our perspective is that you are very expert at using this facility. The way in which you have used it has more been along the lines of what would translate into your language as the idea of pessimistically. An example would be a situation occurs, and as we have said, any situation which does occur in your reality is a fundamentally neutral situation. However, because you have, again, this may come up from time to time because it is quite a system you buy into, but again, presuppose that the present is a result of the past. When a situation comes up, and in a sense you label it in a negative way because it has always been that way in the past, you are using your imagination to project a negative reality. Very often, you fantasize and imagine worst-case scenarios. And by using your imagination in this way, make these worst-case scenarios, which are simply within the pool of potentiality of how to interpret the situation, this use of your imagination begins to solidify an attitude with which you then proceed in action with the underlying supposition that this negative occurrence is most likely, and then your actions are then, shall we say, jaded by this use of your imagination. And you have become very expert at this. Are you all following along?
Yes. We're experts.
So do not think for one moment of your time that you are not good at using your imagination. However, one of the many reasons in which we are communicating with you at this time is to convey the idea to you that you no longer have to use this powerful faculty, this powerful self-tuned facility in this way. What we may suggest is a new approach to your usage of the idea of imagination, and it will go something like this. Rather than dwelling on what has happened, for when you do buy into that the present is a result of the past, experientially it is for you. However, now that we have introduced the perspective, which has no less weight behind it, that the present is not a result of the past, you may at any time choose to buy into that idea. As we said, the effect of buying into the idea that the present is not a result of the past will free you from many things, one of which will be the idea, as we have said, of karma. However, it will also allow you to proceed with your imagination in a new way, by not assuming that the present is a result of the past. You may realize now, at any given now moment, that you are at, as we have said, ground zero. Do not beat yourselves against the ground, because in the past this has happened. In the past that has happened. In the past, it has not gone my way, Bashar. You may let go of this, and it is as simple as simply letting go of it. When you have come to this place, which we suggest you do in this now moment, you have at your disposal a very powerful tool, your imagination. And how we shall suggest that you proceed whenever you feel like you are deviating from what you prefer is as follows. It is always helpful in these situations, though not necessary, for you to relax, for you to take a couple of deep breaths. The reason we constantly suggest this idea is it is a very aligning procedure, allowing you to align with your signature vibration. But the point being that you get in whatever way, shape, or form is most comfortable and conducive for you, your meditative state. And once arriving in such a state, use your imagination in this way. Picture yourself or anybody who is already doing the things that you desire to do, being what you desire to be. conjure up, after you have clearly defined what this is, this image in your mind. It would be helpful for you to use yourself as a model. In other words, not the self that you are now, or you would not be trying to change it, but picture how would the self have to be in order to already be experiencing that reality. In other words, if you were already the person you desire to be, how would you go about doing things? Now, when we say this, we mean take some time, get into it. Submerge yourself in the nuances and idiosyncrasies of how such a person would have to be. Such a person would have to see. How such a person would have to hear, feel, taste, touch. What do they have when they get out of bed in the morning for breakfast? What do they do after breakfast? How do they respond to others? How do they respond to criticism from others? How would this person respond in any given situation that you may find yourself in, that you presently feel you are not handling properly? If you will allow, and again, the idea here is not to force, for forcing takes much effort and is very draining. The idea is to allow, which is an effortless process. Your imagination to take some liberty setting up these simple parameters. You will be amazed at the pictures. You will be amazed at the images. You will be amazed at the emotions. You will be able to feel as that person feels. You will be synchronizing with that vibration. You will find that by using your imagination in this way, you will develop it. So that at first, it seems like a process, a chore to do so. You will find that simply by continuing to do so, it will not only become easier, not only not seem like a chore, but become something you very much look forward to doing because it is a lot of fun. The reason being, it is so equipped and so tuned to you as an individual that it will feed you exactly that which you need, exactly that which you desire, and exactly that which will ring most true with you. The images, if you allow them to occur, will feel correct, will get you very excited that it feels that way, to be how you want to be. However, that is not the final step. When you have clearly formulated all these variables about how a person would have to think, act, etc., act that way. Now we know that this seems very simple, and a phrase you have grown very accustomed to using, and one which does not ring true with us, and certainly in no way, shape, or form is part of our society, is that it's too good to be true. Nothing is too good to be true. Everything that you desire, that brings you joy, that brings you ecstasy, that feels good, is true and can be true for you. If you still find yourself buying into the philosophy that it is too good to be true about anything that you desire, that is within integrity, will not harm yourself or others. Anything is available to you to experience without exception. But at this point, if you do find yourself gravitating toward this idea, you may wish to examine that one who finds themselves falling back, so to speak, to this ideal does not feel on some level that they deserve to have all the joy and all the ecstasy they can imagine. This goes with the analogy we have used, that in your society, when you read your book or go to your movie, that if the story contains struggle and strife, and things are very tumultuous, and nothing comes easy, that is a very realistic story. But when the characters in the story live happily ever after, well, that's a fairy tale. That sentiment arises from a lack of discernibility. Now, if this is what you are experiencing, do not get overwhelmed. Do not feel, oh no, I have a lack of discernibility. What am I going to do? I don't even deserve to deserve. Simply note and realize that you have held on to the idea that you are not deserving, and rationalize with yourself what we have shared with you many times. You exist, and therefore all that is thinks you deserve to exist, and simply treat yourself with that same respect. For, as we have also pointed out many times, although this is also the first time we will point it out, there is no such thing as an extraneous creation, a creation which does not belong, a creation which was forced to manifest and suffer. This is a perception that arises from your high degree of focus. This is a perception which arises from your type of physical experience, but it is not an inherent part of that experience. It is simply, as everything is, a product of a belief system that did not stem from any laws of your physical reality, but simply was perceived within the boundaries of your physical reality, and is as simple to change that idea as it is to realize that you don't have to think that way. We suggest, being that it is very close to the end of the gate you have created and we have labeled Activity Month, that you all very immediately partake in this exercise of your imagination, although we may change the wording slightly, for in your society, exercise usually denotes the idea of trying very hard, and again, the faculty of imagination works best by allowance and not forcing. As a matter of fact, forcing will tend to, with the parameters you have set before you, close down that facility and relegate it more to its negative use, which you have continuously experienced. Is this translating adequately into your language?
Yeah, I think so.
One other idea we wish to touch on at this time is in regards to the topic of manifestation. Many of you in this group have been interested in the idea of manifesting abundance, manifesting different things that you desire. We perceive that your approach to this idea is, shall we say, slightly missing the mark, for you have left out a step. We shall explain from our perspective what this step is. One of the main ideas of, as you have called it, living in the now, realizing that the present is not a result of the past, is to allow yourself the idea of acceptance of the reality that you have already created. Acceptance that just as there are no extraneous entities or beings, there are also no extraneous circumstances within your life, circumstances which have been imposed upon you from without. If it feels to you that these circumstances have been imposed upon you, they have only been imposed upon you from within yourself. You create the seemingness that it is from without, for you validate it from without. However, this is the classic example of what we have called the giving away of your power. By accepting what you have already created, not necessarily to say that you must be complacent and have it remain in ways that you don't prefer. But the idea is to start to try, one moment. To start to search within yourself for the positive reasons that you have created what you already have. By invalidating your present circumstances, by invalidating your manifestation, by putting your power outside of yourself, you don't, shall we say, have the material to work with to change it. You cannot change what you do not own. And by continuing to put your power outside of yourself, you are not admitting your ownership of your life and of your situations. And you must, as a prerequisite, step toward changing these realities. Own the situation by realizing that anything that it contains is your creation, and anything that you perceive to be negative is simply neutral situation that you have created for a reason. You are labeling it negative and not allowing it to deliver the message or reason that it has manifested. And as long as you do that, it will, shall we say, stick around. Things in your life which you have called repetitive patterns are not repetitive patterns. They may come in a similar guise, and they may have a similar message to deliver. For the reason for their repetitiveness is to deliver this message. And once you get that message, they will have no reason to stick around. But each time that these situations do present themselves, they are different. And the way to deal with them in a more constructive manner that will allow you a new set of tools to glean the message that is being delivered is to take away this idea that, oh no, here it comes again. This also goes hand in hand with the idea that we spoke to you about, that things are too good to last. Very often in your society, when things are going very well, you will have an undertone of the idea of, this is too good to last. Nothing is too good to last. Why would you think that? A being who deserves all the joy and ecstasy they can muster up doesn't have something which is too good to last. Realize next time, if indeed you come up to that idea, that it is good enough to last. You do not have to experience negativity simply by gleaning positive meaning from any given neutral situation and then proceeding in action from the perspective of that positive gleaning. You never again from this moment forward have to experience negative manifestations. And if you act that way and a situation presents itself and you think for a moment it may be negative, look again. You will find the positive meaning, for it is there in any situation, any. There may be times where it is not as obvious, because timing sometimes does enter into this idea. Things which will become apparent later when they have played themselves out. However, simply proceed with the idea that it has happened for a positive reason. See if it is immediately obvious what that positive reason might be, for that does tend to help you center yourself in the idea. But if that doesn't come up again, do not beat yourself up. Simply proceed as though it must have happened for a good reason. Either you will immediately glean that positive message, or it will make itself known, and the period of time between the occurrence and when it makes itself known will be very shortened if you proceed in this manner. For you place down your own seeming obstacles when you label a situation negatively and then proceed with that as the foundational supposition. Do you understand this idea?
Yes.
Yes. This interaction will slightly differ from those of the past, because in our estimation of your timeline, you don't have much time left to activity month. Therefore, we shall open up this interaction for sharing as we do. But you may find that many of your questions will be answered by yourselves this evening of your time. Not to say we will be evasive. Not to say we will hold back. Simply to say if we perceive you contain the answer to the question, then we will request or lead you to answering your own question. For ultimately, this is our purpose in interacting with you. For once you answer your own questions, once you stand on your own 2 feet, once you take back your power and own your current manifestations, then you proceed in positive action, in integrative, non-invalidational action. And that is the very mechanism and means for your physical vibratory acceleration that will meet us, as we have said, halfway. Therefore, we are not teasing you, and again, holding back, but simply trying to use one of your words, goad you into positive action that will accelerate your vibration. Again, the acceleration and vibration of which we speak will not come about from wonderful thoughts, wonderful philosophies, wonderful answers, but from the action that you initiate from this information. The information itself does indeed have the quality of raising your vibration. But the quantum leap that we speak of, the transformation that we speak of from 3rd to 4th density, is solely that vibration resulting from, and here it comes again, action. Therefore, in return for your willingness to co-create this interaction with us and act as ambassadors from your civilizations while allowing us and me to act as ambassador from our respective civilizations, I ask you now, how can you serve yourself sharing